Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, we did. We did ask people to join. I'm hoping that some of the folks that there'll be some that will really actually kind of stick and assist the committee. But then next month we'll try to really actually do a membership committee so that we can, a membership meeting so that everyone can kind of see each other. We go over detail operational stuff, because realistically we just can't expect to do that at the garden the same way that we've had in the past. So
Yeah.
probably should have done that last year. But.
Well, there's definitely like some ground to cover around that tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, Frank.
Hey.
Frank.
Let's see. This is probably about my 5th Zoom meeting today.
That's it?
Something like that. I don't know. I lost count.
Zoom fatigue.
No, initiative fatigue.
Initiative.
I'm on a search committee. That's the new term I've learned.
All right. You're still on that search committee.
So there's another person on here, but I can't seem to get my video to work.
We hear you.
Yeah, I know you. I think I knew you would hear me, but somehow my audio is giving me a little problem. I'm gonna, just so if you watch me, you'll know what I'm doing back here. I'm just working on the video.
Are you on a computer or phone?
I'm on a computer.
Okay.
And I've done this before, so, and it's.
There should be, if you, I don't want to
It's
talk
camera.
like you don't know what you're doing, but down the bottom.
Oh, no, I don't mind if you, if I don't know what I'm doing, I would rather be told.
Well, down the bottom left corner, you've got a microphone and then like a little camera.
Wait a minute, I got to go back to that because I cannot see the Zoom at this moment. I've got it. Okay. The bottom left, is that what you said?
Left.
Yeah.
The start video? No, that's not what we want.
Yeah, the stop video.
There's stop video. If it has a line through it, just click on it.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Start video?
Yeah, hit start video.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
Oh, wait, you were there and then you went away.
It put the line between
There
it.
you are.
There you are.
Hey.
Okay. All right, so I gotta move because I'm under, oops. Where did we go? Did I lose you all?
Oh, we're here. We see you.
We can see it just fine.
Oh, you can? I don't want you to see.
We can hear you.
Okay, so I'm gonna move my camera. I saw, every time I do that, I lose you all. Okay, here you are. Okay, I'm gonna walk around and get someplace better. In the dark, that'll always look great in the dark. Okay.
Dark's fine as long as you know what's in front of you.
All right, I'm getting there. So I thought by now there would be 100 people on this site.
Well, they're coming in one by one.
All right.
I'm amazed there's this many people.
All right, I'm gonna go back in my kitchen and grab my food. Anybody want some fish stew?
Oh, sure.
It came out really well. I keep losing you. Okay. Okay. Hey, has anybody seen a great big 20 by 20 blue tarp flying through the skies? It was over my garden and I went back to unveil the garden and it was gone. And I had put a
I would
mountain.
like to actually take a request since it's 5 after, if folks could mute themselves and we could get the meeting started.
Okay,
Still
I'm
running.
done.
Thank
So
Do you mind if I eat?
I think Nicole might interfere with her eating.
Mm.
This is one rule, you have to use chopsticks. You gotta eat in front of it. Even for stew. Okay, I think I agree. Let's let's start going. As
I'm
people,
sorry, one moment. Could, I don't know your name, person who's also eating, but could you mute yourself until it's time for you to talk? Thank you.
what I thought we would do though to start off, since they're new folks, is to kind of go around. Everyone can introduce themselves. I'm just going to read down from the list. Wait a minute. Susanna Apgar, are you in yet? Let's wait for her to join. And we'll start with her. And Mark, oh, there you are, Margie. Okay.
Hey,
Hello.
Up, Margie.
haven't seen anyone in a long
Okay,
time.
I think we got everyone spacing here. So let's go around and quickly introduce ourselves. I want to read down the list as I have it, starting with you, Frank Johnson.
Hey, I'm Frank Johnson, and I've been on the garden committee from the very beginning. And I don't even remember how many years it is now, but and I'm the weed inspector.
Yes, you want to be friendly with Frank. Frank, what plot are you? Everyone wants to say what plots they are.
Pardon me?
What plot are you?
Oh, C8.
C8. Okay. Margie?
Hi, everybody. I'm Margie Phillips. I'm the one you get a lot of emails from. It's really great to see so many people here. It's very uplifting. I'm in D, where am I? I'm in D5, I think.
D5. Yeah, so Margie kind of does the plot membership thing. Mark Leonis.
Yeah, that's me. I'm in C5 and I've been involved with donations for the community center and interested in donation gardens in general. I've been in the community gardens for a couple of years now and on the committee for a couple of years.
And should we say anything about the compost or not?
Oh, you want me to talk about that?
Well, but not spend, but just to identify folks if they have compost questions.
Right. We try to order compost for distribution into our gardens, and we've had a couple of different vendors. And so if people are interested, they need to tell us, the committee, their interest and make some commitment.
We'll talk about that, but I want people to know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Okay. Nicole.
Hi, folks. I'm Nicole Claro. I'm the relatively new treasurer for the Easthampton Community Garden. I've been at the garden for a few years now, but this is my first year volunteering to be on the committee.
Thank you. Ben Lesko.
Hi, can people hear me?
Yes, we can't see you.
Oh, you can't see me? I don't. All right. Well, I guess my voice will just have to be enough. So I'm Ben. I've been involved with the community garden for a few years now, and have been involved with the donation garden mostly, and some various other things. And looking forward to another season.
Right. Ben, it's according to this, you have your camera off. I don't know. Are you on phone or computer?
I'm on my phone.
Oh, okay. So you may not see it. If you do see your video slash, that means you want a video, you can unslash it. But that's okay. Right now, the audio is good. There's someone here called Bluebell. I think we need further identification.
You gotta unmute.
You're muted.
Okay, this is Karen
There
Samowski.
you go.
Hi. This is my second year in the garden. I'm working on the Pollinator Garden. We covered that with mulch and cardboard last year to try and stop those weeds. And I put some more on the other half this winter, but unfortunately, some of the cardboard blew off. I have more cardboard, and I'll be putting that back on and covering it with the chips, which seem to work very well to hold it down, even in the high winds. And we have plans for the half that's been sitting dormant for a year. I'm hoping that most of those weeds have been killed off. So there's going to be a wall of sunflowers, and I have a bunch of seeds for different cover crops to show folks what they look like, what their benefits are, and then also annual flowers and other easy to get pollinator plants for that.
That's great. Thank you so much. What plot are you?
I think I'm either C2 or B2. I'm trying to look that up.
Okay. Which reminds me, Nicole, I don't know if I asked you which plot you are.
You didn't, and I am catty corner to Mark, and I am unsure if that makes me B7.
I know.
Huh?
Nicole, you're B7. You're B7 because I'm B8.
Super, thank you.
Some of the people know their plots. And Ben, I don't know if I asked you what plot are you?
Ben is A10.
I'm not even sure.
A10.
I just I know that I'm next on the road side, and
Yeah,
I'm most of the way down.
You're A10, Ben. Yeah.
I'm
A10.
A10.
Yeah, I knew you were at 8. Okay, great.
I
Hey,
got
Mark.
it right here.
Well, you got, I'm looking at it in the drive too.
All right. Okay. Deb Friedman.
Yeah, hi. This is my second year. I'm the one who puts cardboard everywhere with a bunch of rocks on it. And I'm gonna do the same thing this year if that's okay with everybody, because I still don't know exactly how much time I'm gonna have to do how much gardening. But the other thing is, when I got that plot last year, it was covered and still is with some weed cloth that wasn't really keeping out weeds anymore. So my plan is, and somebody can tell me if I shouldn't do it this way, is to pull up all of that old weed cloth, and then put that, and I can put down, and then I'll use cardboard to keep out weeds, and cardboard and rocks. And I probably won't do watermelons this year.
Deb, what plot are you?
I think it's B3. It's B something. I think it's 3.
Boy, this is turning into like a pop quiz here. Jeez. Who knew? All right.
Get a free pack of seeds if you know
I'm
your
thinking we
plot.
have to give something now. People are searching their memories. Eric, I don't know. I'll say Chochuk, but if that's mispronounced, I apologize.
All good. Nobody knows how to say it. Hi, I'm Eric Sioka. I'm in plot D6. I've been there as long as I can remember.
Yeah, you've been there a while.
Yeah. I don't do anything particularly important at the garden, but I help out where I can. I've got about 9 cubic feet of cardboard that I'm looking at in my kitchen. So as soon as I have some place to drop that, that'll be at the garden also. So hope everybody can make use of it.
Okay, Jake Stalker.
Hey folks, I'm Jake Stalker. This is Catherine Holmberg. We are in A7. Yeah, I think we're right next to Nicole.
Yeah.
We have a big post in our spot. This is our second year, and we're super excited to get growing again.
I'm still dying to have a May Day celebration in your plot because you clearly have the maypole, but you've already got starts in there, so.
I know.
There you go.
Oh wow.
Well, some overwintered and they survived. So.
Wow, cool. Well, you gotta see. Okay, now we have Galaxy J7. May need another identifier there if you can pop on. Where are you, Galaxy?
Galaxy Crown. Does Galaxy know that you're muted?
Yeah, you're point of this, you're muted both by phone and by video. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll keep on here. And hopefully you can come back in to identify yourself. Okay, JAM.
She's muted. You're muted.
Sorry. So this is my second year in the same location, and is there a Y in the rows?
No.
I'm all the way at the end up by the road.
What's your name?
Joanne Mazel.
Oh yeah, you're A12.
A12, thank you.
Hi, Joanne.
I knew it was one end or the other of the alphabet. So I'm coming back this year. I worked the soil and pulled out a lot of boulders. I was told that garden hadn't been used in a number of years, and I inherited the strangest kinds of weeds that I've never seen before, and they seemed to win the battle last year. So I put this huge tarp over it, hoping that I could use it, which I did through the fall and winter, but it's disappeared. I went back to take it off a couple weeks after checking on it, and I don't know where it is, but if anybody sees somebody looking like Superman with a blue cape on up in the sky, it's a 20 by 20 tarp.
I would be willing to bet that it's probably somewhere
Southampton.
long way. One thing I'll tell you all is the wind up there is, if it's windy at your house somewhere in Easthampton, double it up there. It's incredibly windy up there. Yeah.
All
so,
right.
yeah,
Well,
it's a goner.
I guess I didn't put enough weight on top of that thing then.
Okay.
Rocks. We have lots of rocks up there. With rocks.
I did. I put like 30 rocks on there. But anyway, so I'm hoping that I can at least keep even with the weeds this year, hoping to win. I had purchased compost last year, and y'all ran out before I got a chance to use it. So I'm hoping that this year I might be able to double up on it.
Sounds reasonable. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. JP.
Hi,
Hi, JP. How are you?
pretty good. Just checking in, seeing how everything's going.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Are we in your catchment there, your precinct, JP?
Yes, it's my precinct, but the whole city is very important. And this is especially important to my wife and I, the success of the community gardens.
JP is a member of the city council. That's and JP, you got your camera off. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, yes, we do. We do.
Okay.
Oftentimes it's just too much of a drain, and we ask people who aren't involved directly in the meeting to have their camera off. So I apologize.
I just didn't know you knew it. That's fine. We can hear you. Thank you so much for joining us. We're back now to Julie.
Julie has left
She
the
slipped
room.
out. Oh, there
Julie
she-
left the room.
There she is.
Well, I don't think so. You are muted though.
Say her name again.
Julie.
Oh, hi. Sorry, got it.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Julie. I will be doing plot D4 with Laura.
Oh,
And I'm a farmer and a homesteader without a homestead yet. So I'm really excited to make this garden my own thing. So yeah. And I know about the wind because I worked at the orchard. So it's great.
Oh, okay. Julie, what's your last name?
Grome, Grome.
Okay, great. Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks.
Back. Laura was next anyhow. Laura Fisher. We are not worthy.
He's back.
you're muted. Oh, there you go. Hey, Laura.
I'm going to be sharing my plot that we've had for a number of years with Julie this year. I'm probably going to throw some onions in there because where we are now, we have really low sulfur, so onions don't do well here. But I've been involved since the beginning. So if anyone has questions and you see me out there, feel free to ask. Yeah, so I'll be in and out a little bit, but Julie is going to be doing most of the plot maintenance. So nice to see everyone. Looking forward to seeing you all out there.
Nice seeing you.
Glad you're back.
I know. I thought I wouldn't be back.
I know.
Congrats. You have to put up with me longer.
We pulled her back in.
Nina Levinson.
Hi, I'm Nina. I'm gonna be sharing a plot with Susanna. And yes, I've been gardening in the valleys for like maybe 8 years. I usually just have a bunch of scattered plots around, so I'm excited. This will be my first year with Easthampton.
Great, welcome. Do you know what plot you're going to be in, Nina?
Susanna probably knows.
Okay,
That's
actually,
Susanna Apgar, Nina?
B8.
which one? D8?
Yeah, B8.
B as in boy?
Yep.
Okay. Well, you've kind of gone in and out here, Susanna. What, there you are. Okay.
Hi. Yeah, I'm
Hi,
sorry
welcome.
about that. I have a slightly old laptop and it just shut down entirely. I apologize for that.
Okay, no problem. Welcome.
Thanks.
Let's see. Sarah King.
Hi, I was late, so I don't know what we're supposed to say.
Oh, you can say hello and what plot you're in, if you recall.
Hi, I think my plot is C3.
Yep,
I think that's right. That's where I've seen you in
sounds
C.
that's right.
The C part is right.
Yes.
C3.
And yeah, this is my 3rd year, I think, or no, it feels like a long time, but I think it's just my 3rd year. This is just a random thought I had. I know the application's already in, so I'm sure people have signed up for different crews and stuff. But I'd almost wondered if just as like I thought is if path maintenance could just even be maybe an extension of your plot maintenance. Just because like attempting to do some of that stuff last year, it just like it is kind of a big task with how quickly like weeds and stuff like form on the paths. And if people are just like already doing stuff in their garden, they could just tend to the path right next to theirs. And then you can clear, like, I always felt weird, like not knowing people's boundaries or wanting to like accidentally mulch something someone had started. So I don't know, that's just like a suggestion for maybe doing that differently, especially then maybe more work could go into like the other community projects. But yeah, anyways, my plot has always a bunch of crazy experiments happening in it, so that's mine.
Hey, Sarah, you're talking about the paths that feed off of the main corridors, right?
Yes, yeah, just any of the
yeah, those can get
just because I feel like
good idea.
The people who were in charge of it last year, like we did some stuff, but I always just felt like I'm like, wow, it looks like I've done nothing. And I just like because it's spread a little thin. But anyway.
Well, it's a good thought. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah.
Yeah.
I think we got everyone except we never got, I don't know where Galaxy.
No, we haven't gotten Eric yet. I don't think Eric.
No, we did.
We got Eric.
We did?
Yeah, we did.
Great.
Don't you remember? I butchered his name.
No, I don't remember.
I always remember name butcherings. But we never got Galaxy G7 is remaining on the, I don't know, whatever. Come on in when you can. The water's fine. I'm Stephen Linsky. I'm in B11, and this will be my, I think, 4th year at the garden. And I've been serving as kind of secretary, clerk, or whatever, to the organization last year, just in time for the pandemic. So part of the reason why included in the notice to this meeting that it was good to have some gardeners, because frankly, what happened is that last year we kind of had a changing of the guard to some extent. A lot of the folks who have historically helped manage and administer the garden, some moved out of the town, some had other jobs and houses, a whole bunch of things. So we had to scamper a little bit to try to keep things together. And a tip of the hat in this regard to Laura, because Laura took on a lot of the responsibilities previously, and it was her family that we owe our garden to in the first instance. You know, a wonderful gift on behalf of the city, and you know, we owe a debt of gratitude, and it's great, Laura, to have you, you know, back in whatever capacity. But I do want to mention that we really, we could really use what we do is have a monthly meeting, and it's not technically an executive committee meeting, but it's really a business meeting, and we try to take care of the business of the garden. And we really, I want to say at the very outset, we could really use some folks to join us on a more regular basis. We meet now via Zoom the first Thursday of every month, which is what this is. In fact, it's the first day of this month. So if you'd be kind to make a note, for next month's meeting, I think we will really try to make it a membership meeting too, because the reality is we are trying to operate as safely as possible. We do consult with the city in that regard, in terms of keeping it safe, and to have a whole meeting of gardeners in person, it's probably not in the cards at the moment. So we'll switch to virtual this year. And if you don't mind to mark in your calendar already, put in the first, you know, in the first Thursday in May, mark your calendar, please, because that's when we'll be meeting again. And I'm just looking at my calendar on that one, and I think that is May the 6th.
Yeah.
So mark it in your calendar, please. We really need everyone's participation. But as we go through this meeting, you'll get to see about all the various things that need to be done. And we're hoping everyone will join in on that. But thank you so much for joining us today. When we have these business meetings, oh, by the way, one other person has entered here who wasn't here before. Bear with me 1 second. I think they disappeared again. Oh no, Janet Gula. Janet, you are muted, and your camera.
Hello. Hi there.
Hi, how are you? We went around
Great.
before, Janet. Everyone got a chance to introduce themselves.
Yeah, well, I'm Janet Gula, and this would be my second year gardening with the community garden, and it's a refuge, wonderful place, and really appreciate your work on the garden committee.
Janet, what plot are you?
What else? You know, I'm
B6.
not sure. I have to look it up. I've actually forgotten what plot I'm at.
B6.
B6?
Yeah, B6.
Thank you.
That sound right?
Yeah. Can you hear me? No one can hear me.
I can hear you. No, we can hear you, Margaret.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was a B or a C. Is it a B as in boy?
B as in boy, I think.
It's right here.
Yeah. It was just a
Say
little.
it again, please.
Janet, it was just a little pop quiz.
B as in boy. Okay, I'm B6.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so in our typical meetings that we conduct, because we are a city committee.
I need to know.
Okay, now you can mute. Because we are a city committee, we do have an agenda that's consistent with the city committee, and every public committee of the city starts their meetings off with what's called public comment. And in this instance, it's only people who are not members of the committee who are otherwise members of the public if they have any issue or something that they want to say. So even though I do not see any member of the public, perhaps with the exception of JP, and unless there's something further you would want to say, no one being here, we shall move ahead. Incidentally, we did start the meeting at 7:05. upon the declaration of a quorum. We'll next move to the minutes. Did everyone have a chance in the notice that was sent out through our Gmail? The minutes were attached. Did people have a chance to catch the minutes? And if you want to retrieve them, you can take the moment to do so. I'm somewhat disinclined to put them up, but we will need to have the minutes adopted.
You need a motion,
Did everyone
Stephen?
have a chance to look at the minutes?
I just dropped my email in the chat. I didn't get the minutes. I'm hoping someone can add me to the listserv.
Yeah, I take care of the contact list, so Susanna, maybe you could send Nina the email list or send me Nina's email address.
Yeah. I also need the minutes.
Margie, I'll connect you with and Nina. And then I will forward you those minutes.
Janet,
Well, I will get a sense of the body here. Do people want the minutes shared on the screen, or do people can retrieve them themselves, or do they want them read so that we can move ahead and adopt the minutes?
I could share a link into the chat.
That's a great idea, Nicole.
Okay.
Why don't we do that?
Yeah, or we just share a screen and they can look at
Yeah,
it.
I think sharing the link is great, and that way we don't have to.
Right. One moment, please. Could whoever's mic is live with the background chatter, please mute themselves?
It's Janet.
I think, Janet, it might be you. Guess not. Okay.
Steven, you're the host. You can mute her. You can mute her.
I know, but she is muted.
There you go.
Yeah, she's muted. Okay. Great.
Thank you, and apologies. This is my computer froze up as soon as I tried to scroll through the previous minutes. Easthampton Community Garden filter minutes from oh, that's annoying.
Would have been March 4th.
Yep. Back to Zoom in the chat, talking myself through it.
Okay, good work. I think.
No, that downloaded it. Hang on. I'm gonna link all y'all to the page where they can be found. Because if I try and submit it to you all as a PDF, it doesn't work, but this is the page where the minutes live.
Beautiful. That's exactly what we should have. That's a good thing. We should actually do that all the time, I think, just so people can link to it. Okay. For those who have had the opportunity to review the minutes, and frankly, it ought to be the people who were there,
yeah,
right? Because how can you attest whether something happened if you weren't there? I will ask for a motion to adopt.
There is a correction.
Okay.
Petty cash balance is only $252, not $400.
Oh, okay, typo.
Yeah, we put some of it in crypto. It did really well.
No, this is hard cash we're talking here. Okay, so there was an amendment to the minutes. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes as amended?
I so move to adopt the minutes as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Marty is seconded. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Raise your little hand, put it up in the thing. Is there anyone opposed to the adoption of the minutes? Seeing and hearing none, the minutes are adopted unanimously. We then move on to our major reports, starting with the treasurer's report.
All right.
What could be more major than that?
Buckle in, folks, it's spreadsheet time. All right, so when last we saw the budget, a lot has happened actually since the last time we saw the budget. I do have the ability. Oh, could you please allow me to share the screen?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
So
Also, the other thing, Nicole, is do we want to put that link also in the chat too, or no?
It'll be, so the link is available in the last meeting minutes. There's a link to this same spreadsheet in the previous month's minutes already, but I'm happy to walk you through it as well on the screen. So whatever your preference is, and I am honestly unsure, but yes, I can throw it. It's multiple links. There's multiple spreadsheets.
Yeah, and also because I want to capture it in the minutes too.
Right. Okay. So
the links.
Here's the link to the first spreadsheet I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, everyone seeing my boring spreadsheet? All right, so when last we met, we had some outstanding invoices, which are outlined down here, which I had submitted to the Easthampton City for payment. So we have up here in this column, this row, I should say, the amount of the existing purchase orders with which we could pay invoices. Just for the new people, this is not the total amount that we have in the Easthampton Community Gardens overall account. This is just like money we earmarked specifically for bills. So there's what we earmarked. Row 5 is the total of expenses that were incurred that we needed to pay. So what is down here in row 6? So the amount of money earmarked comes out of the larger pot of money that the community garden has. The total of the invoices for this particular vendor, Broadbrook, exceeded the amount we had earmarked by $75. So Barbara, the city clerk, Barbara LeBombard, increased the purchase order for us by $175 so that we were able to pay all of the outstanding invoice and also have $100 remaining so that we have $100 already ready to go to pay Broadbrook to turn on the water this spring. That's what they've charged us the past 2 years in a row, right? So in addition to this, there was an outstanding invoice for Easthampton feed, which could not be paid. I didn't have the original invoice. I don't have a copy of the original invoice. There's just a statement from them letting us know we owe $997, but I didn't have a copy of the original invoice. The city cannot pay it without the copy of the original invoice. However, we can ask them when we go to work with them again this year, if they could just add an outstanding balance onto a new invoice so that we can pay them and get that taken care of. Flurry's invoices are paid in full. They had an additional $40 invoice that dated from 4/27, which I didn't have, but was sent to the city directly and is definitely for us. But I'm happy to say that all 3 of these have been paid. In addition to this, Manchester, who is unfortunately now closed, had sent us successive invoices charging basically like late fees for the outstanding balance that we owed. Barbara brought it to my attention that the city is exempt from late fees. So the amount that we could pay was $153.73, which was the amount of the original invoice. The amount that the final invoice was for was $169.90. So one of the things I would like to do tonight is propose that we pay this remaining balance of essentially like $16 and some change out of the petty cash. And I can, if somebody wants to write a personal check and send it to Manchester, then they can be reimbursed. So I would like to make a motion to pay the 16, I don't have the exact number, 16 and change. Bad treasurer, doesn't have the exact number. 16 and change out of petty cash and reimburse the person who writes the personal check. And I am willing to be the personal check writer for this as well.
I second it.
There's a motion to make that payment to Manchester that Frank has seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of making that payment to Manchester?
Well, you said further discussion?
Did you? Yes, Mark.
I just wanted to get clear, Nicole. So looking at the Manchester line, the part that's highlighted in red is 4627.
Right.
But then you said we owe only $16, so I'm confused.
So that's because 4627 is the difference between the $200 we allocated and the 153 that we paid. The remainder is 4627.
That's how much we had left over.
That's how much we had left over, which gets absorbed back into the larger account because this purchase order line is now closed.
So that, and then on the same column there, the invoice at the bottom says 169.90. Is that the one with all the late charges or what?
That's the latest invoice with all of the late fees.
So if you subtract out the late fees, then it's $16. Is that what you're saying?
$16.17.
Okay, now I understand. Thank you.
To be clear, so the proposal is, because what Nicole said is that even though there are monies that remain in that, the $46, we cannot use those to pay that particular thing. However, on our own account, not the city's, we do have the discretion to do so, and that's what Nicole's proposal was, to make that payment as a discretionary payment out of that fund. So
The city can't pay. We can't pay.
that's what they just said. When we can't.
Because Manchester no longer exists. Is that it?
No, it's because apparently the city's saying that they're not subject to late fees. So.
Right.
Okay.
So, but we are trying to do the right thing, and so that's why we're going to do the right thing. So there was a motion made by Nicole for that, seconded by Frank. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of making that payment to Manchester?
Aye.
And you can represent it that way. Opposed? None, Nicole. So we can go ahead and authorize that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on to this year's budget. So let's start with the right sheet. So we have the last report we had prior to any bills being paid was for $4,964.90. The total amount of bills paid out of the spreadsheet / invoices I just showed you is $895.13, which leaves us with a starting balance of $4,069.77. This column D, represents all of the plot fees that we have received so far this fiscal year that the city has deposited. That is current to today. I literally walked up to City Hall today to receive the latest, greatest information about who's paid their plot fee, which have been deposited by the city. So this leads to a different conversation that we're not going to have right now about applications and fees and some confusion around the policy thereof. Returning gardeners, a list of returning gardeners has been provided to Barbara LeBombard by Margie. Thank you so much, Margie, for doing that. So it's clear who is returning gardener and therefore like approved to have their funds deposited. We also have some new gardeners who on this particular spreadsheet are highlighted in green, whose funds were deposited before we understood that we needed to make sure we had enough plots to before. What I'm trying to say is we released the application and didn't clarify with the city that we needed to review the applications before we deposited funds.
We also need to be sure that there's plots available before anybody pays a fee. And these people who already paid are not even on the waiting list. But as Nicole said, that's another conversation.
Yeah, so we'll get to that in a minute. So long story short, here's all the income we have so far. We might have to reimburse some folks. So TBD on reimbursement. So finally, the purchase orders for this year. So this number is the remainder left over after we paid our existing invoices out of the existing purchase order. So we have a remainder of 183.60, which was also reflected here. We have a total of $600 set aside for Bear Path, which was never used last year. Thank you, Mark, again for calling Bear Path and following up as to whether or not we had any outstanding invoices with them. They told Mark we did not. That's correct, right, Mark?
I don't think it was me who had that
Oh,
conversation.
sorry, Mark and Frank. Oh my God, this is the worst. I'm picturing Frank and saying Mark. I apologize. I do this all the time.
I'm not as cute as Frank.
Frank there was a question. Is that correct? Frank, you're muted right now.
Yeah. What do you want to know? What's correct? What's correct or incorrect?
That Bear Path said we don't owe them any money to their
That is correct.
Okay.
I don't believe it, but that's what they said, and they're cool with it. And he says anytime we want to order more compost, he's more than willing to deliver.
Yeah, and I have an update on that when it's my turn.
We'll get to that.
Easthampton feed, we still have $100 in the purchase order. We know that we owe them $9.97, which we'll have to ask them to add to an invoice for us here as a balance forward, because we don't have the original invoice. So I've already put that line in there. Broadbrook, we have $100 budgeted, which will cover the spring. And Abishan, I went ahead and opened up purchase order while I was doing the invoice thing with Barbara, and I put $300 in it. So fun.
Thank you for doing that, Nicole.
Yeah, you're welcome. Fun new information, which we discussed this last time. I proposed, we had kind of talked about putting $500 in each of these. It is possible for Barbara at our request to increase the amount of purchase orders before they're closed. We don't need to close one and then reopen. So at the last meeting, we discussed making all of these for Flurries, Easthampton, Broadbrook, and Abishan $500. I wanted to double check that that was something the committee still wanted to do.
You want to know if we approve of these figures that you proposed here for budgeted amounts?
I am asking if at the last meeting I proposed a budget, but we didn't finalize anything.
Yeah.
So I'm asking again if we want to change the overall amount of anticipated spending for Flurries, Easthampton Feed, Broadbrook, and Abishan. Right now,
what about Bear Path?
Bear Path, we already have 600 set aside.
Right, but this is for this coming year, and the information I have is that if we decide to go with Bear Path, it might cost us more than 600.
So then we should talk about them too.
Yeah, I would just say add an extra $100 if you want. Not that it's going to take that much, but just it gives you a ceiling that you can bounce off of safely.
Okay.
Since Broadbrook deals with the water, the 100 seems low.
Agreed, especially considering that their fall charge is usually, it was 125 one year and 151 the following year.
Yeah.
So
a buffer there, but just at 500 probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Just in case something springs a leak or whatever during the summer.
All right, so I'm going to add another 400 as an improved increase to that particular part of the spreadsheet. That would be column F, row 5. So that's a proposal to add $400 to the Broadbrook purchase order.
I think by way of background, Nicole, if I can point out, because you're referring to our discussion last month about this,
right,
which is true. We did talk about, going up to that level in each of these accounts. I think folks should understand, and if they saw the minutes, they'd see it. just so people know about what our balance is, we had a balance just slightly under $5,000 in our city account. That was not including of any of the outstanding accounts owed, which we thought would bring us just above $4,000. Now, of course, we have even more money because we have these people have paid their $20. Incidentally, I paid mine today, so you'll be able to add that to the column. I was waiting because I was going to pick up the mail, but you beat me to it, Nicole, this morning. So people should know there's the amount, so you know if we're putting 500 in each of these accounts, it still leaves us significant monies. It's wholly exclusive of the plot fees that haven't been collected yet.
And just to clarify for folks, this is the overall budget. And then if we put $500, we set aside $500 for each of these, well, it would be 2,600 total. If we did 5,000 each for Fleury's, Easthampton, Broadbrook, Abishan, Bear Path, we already have 600. If we up that by 100, it would be 2,700 total. I would then add a line here to reflect that that was money earmarked, and it would reduce this number by $2,700, which I can calculate that right now. Off the top of my head, it's 1859.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, 1859.77. Anything we don't spend goes back into the balance. It doesn't disappear. It's just the idea of like, we're setting aside $2,700 in anticipated expenses this year. But anything we don't spend just stays in our account.
Let's move back to the motion that was just before us, which is to go back into those accounts and raise them up as proposed.
So Mark, I believe, and Mark, I'm looking at you and I'm talking about you this time.
Oh, good.
Mark proposed an increase for Bear Path for $100.
Yes.
And so I second that. Am I allowed to second that?
Sure.
I'll second it just in case.
Okay. That's seconded. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor of raising the amounts in those accounts as in that account rather as proposed? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion is adopted unanimously. Okay. Then the other part of the proposal is to take the others, right, and get them up to 500, which simply means that Broadbrook would go up, Easthampton Fee would go up, Fleury's would go up, and Overshawn by the $200.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So I could just word the proposal as I propose to increase the amounts for Fleury's, Easthampton Feed, Broadbrook, and Abishan purchase orders so that they equal $500 per business.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
Sure.
Margie? Okay. Margie is seconded. Okay. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor of raising those amounts, those accounts to that amount? Aye. Is there anyone?
Aye.
Opposing? Anyone in opposition? I'm hearing none. That motion is adopted unanimously.
Right. Thank you. I'm not going to do all the math right now.
That's okay. We'll get it next time.
All right. And just to review, we have a starting balance of $252 in petty cash. I did also find 2 shed keys in the binder. So that's very exciting. We have 2 shed keys ready to go. And so if it turns out we do owe any folks who are new gardeners who have yet to have their applications approved a refund, then we have the funds available for that as well. So we don't have to rely on, I don't know what the process for the city is to pay individuals, but I would imagine refunding them out of petty cash would probably be the easier route.
Yeah, because those deposit monies actually went into petty cash, so it's actually the
right
correct way of doing it.
Oh.
That money went into petty cash?
No. We're talking about two different deposits. I think Stephen is thinking of the shed key deposits.
Correct. Yes.
Petty cash, but what I'm referring to right now is the plot.
Oh, that's different. Yeah.
The new gardeners.
Yeah, that's
new
different.
gardeners who don't have plots who paid.
Yes.
Right.
We think Barbara had mentioned that it's very difficult to refund.
Yes.
That if they don't get plots, and Nicole and I had discussed that we could probably refund them out of petty cash if necessary.
I see. Okay.
But yeah, so I'm just letting you know there may be a potential refund of $80. The four who I've highlighted are people who definitively identified on their application that they're new and also had funds deposited by the city.
Yes.
Right. So I'm going to stop my share now, and I'm going to ask if there are any follow-up questions.
Good job, Nicole.
I don't have a question, but I do have an issue. Those people that money that got deposited to the city, I have an issue with that money being taken out of petty cash.
I think it's being held there, Frank. Isn't that the point? Because we're not depositing. Am I wrong? Are they haven't been deposited yet, or have they?
The ones in green have been deposited before.
Oh, they were deposited.
Yes, before Barbara, before we all realized that something's wrong, because we need to clarify the application process.
I understand
for gardeners. But there are also several people after we figured it out. Now Barbara is holding all the checks for applications that are marked new gardeners.
I see.
And I have been contacting all of them to let them know what's happening.
I see.
And I don't know, we have to clarify how there is a way to refund new gardeners who paid, who don't get plots. There is a way to refund them when the checks have been deposited, but Barbara had mentioned that it's not easy.
I see.
And I didn't go further in that discussion.
I see. So Frank, you have an objection, although you would recognize too that that's only in instances where we don't have the plots, which we don't know that yet.
That's correct. So, I mean, we can revisit that, but I think the
revisit
city should just repay them because the petty cash goes for gasoline and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think that we should just see where we're at.
Yeah, I don't want to drain that because, I paid for gas out of my own pocket before. And I just think it's not something that has to be taken care of right away because we may very well have the plots anyway.
Well, we probably won't.
Well, let's see where we're at.
All right, we'll see where we're at.
Where does petty cash come from, may I ask?
My hand. There's an envelope with money in it that is
Does it get replenished from time to time?
only if people pay a $5 deposit for a shed key.
It's just from shed key money.
Most of that came from, we've been open, the garden's been there for what, 10, 11 years. So that's just accumulated over the years of people that didn't take their key deposit money back because some people just abandon their plots and disappear. So that's where that money came from, but that's used for gasoline, or we're going to have to get a PO for a gas station.
Yeah.
Just a thought to think about.
Something to think about, yeah.
Yeah.
Nicole, does that conclude the treasurer's report?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to adopt the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Mark has moved to adoption. Second? Is there a second?
I'll second it again. I'll be the official seconder.
I guess so.
I get the job.
Okay, the motion's been moved and adopted and seconded. Any discussion on the rest of the treasurer's report? Hearing none, all in favor of adoption?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone in opposition to adoption? Seeing and hearing none, the report is adopted unanimously. Thank you, Nicole. And we will include the link to those spreadsheets, Nicole, if you forward them to me, so that they'll be reflected in the minutes. Okay, that brings us to operations report. Operations.
That would be me.
Frank Johnson.
We're going to be looking for a new string trimmer. So I know it's exciting news. Hold on to your seats. So I haven't shopped around for one yet, but I'm going to start doing that. I'll probably start with Flurry because we have a PO with them. And they did us a solid with the lawnmower that we have. So I'll talk to them and see what they have. The lawnmower will be taken to Flurry to be tuned up as well. We didn't talk about this in the last meeting, but we're either going to need to repair a large wheelbarrow we have, or it might not be a bad idea to maybe start looking to buy another wheelbarrow as well.
Yeah, we got the money.
Yeah, either that or, there's going to be a lot of tag sales soon. And if we can get one of those old school wheelbarrows, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But if not, we could get a new one. That's fine. Then we're probably going to need new nozzles for hoses as well. We may need some new hoses. We'll figure that out towards the end of the month. I'll probably get up to the shed in the next week or two and see what we have. And I want to put a plug in too for Easthampton Feed. If you have not gone there, they support us. They're awesome people. And they in the past, they have given us a 10% discount. We should probably check in with them again and see if that's still valid. I'm pretty sure it will be. But they have plant sets, topsoil, compost, all that stuff. So great people, then they're local. And we have
Frank,
a with them too.
Question.
Yeah, Julie.
So I had a garden space before that was on my property. So I have like hoses and some of the things that may be on that list. Like, what's the deal if I decide to donate them? Can I like bring them for the season to be used and then take them back? Like, I don't know. I'm curious about that.
So you have hoses?
Yeah, like hoses and maybe some nozzles. And I don't have a wheelbarrow, but like some of those things on the list I definitely have and would be happy to like bring to the community garden to use for the season or seasons that I'm there.
Right.
And because hopefully going to get that homestead one day, but I'm not there yet. So happy to be with a community of people who also love to share and do this.
Yeah. Well, that's something we could consider. I just have to, because they're going to get wear and tear up there.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering what the thing is about it. But if it's a discussion, like it's a discussion for later, not for tonight.
Well, and that's a wonderful gesture. Just to let you know, we do have plenty of money though to purchase these things outright. And
they're sitting in my storage unit. They're not they're not doing any good where they are. So might as well just.
And we just put away the hoses in the shed over the winter anyway, along with the nozzles and the other equipment.
And really, the bigger thing with the hoses is that most of the hoses are fine. It's just that it's the nature of the water here in Easthampton. We have good water, but it's mineral rich. So
yeah, no worries. Whatever, we can address this later.
The nozzles actually get stuck on the end of the hoses. There's a few we won't get off. I've put brake free on them and everything, so we'll probably have to snip them. Once you snip a hose and add a new male or female end, I wouldn't say it's compromised, but then it becomes more maintenance. So just saying, if you donate a hose, we'll make sure we put the nozzles that you donate on them. So if you take them eventually, you'll get the whole package when you leave.
But the offer is a really nice offer, and in terms of
yeah.
nozzles, the nozzles we have a need.
Nozzles wear out pretty quickly up there, yeah.
My plot being A12, A11 also, we both bought hoses and nozzles last year. And the nozzles kept disappearing. So, yeah, I don't know. It's good to know that we can actually buy them through the garden budget. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, we buy them and then we supply them. I mean, that's
Right.
That would be the idea. Yeah.
You distribute them at the beginning of the year, and then we collect them and put them away in the fall.
Yeah.
Oh.
The hoses and the and the spigots, I mean, the nozzles weren't functional.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, so Joanne, we put everything back in the shed, so it's possible that it's, when we take them back up, maybe it's there for you.
No, it was, well, anyway, that's fine. Whatever. I just wanted to know how to go about if something isn't working, who to contact.
Right.
Yeah.
Frank.
Okay. Frank.
Oh boy.
Frank is the only one I actually recognize.
That's good. You recognize the right person.
That's right.
Yeah, well, thank you, Julie, for that offer. That's very kind. But so we'll go forward on that. If there's no, Frank, unless there's other equipment related things, the other part of your report is perhaps to talk about the operation aspect relative to pandemic operations. I did not include in the attachments to the notice, the draft that we spent some time on relative to operations that we intend to post, in part because we want to make sure we get them in finalized form so people don't confuse that from whatever does get posted. So they should go out, I think, in time for next meeting. But if you want to comment, I did offer to contact the health department, which I did do, and what I heard back was that they are not aware of any change operations from requirements from last year to this year. So they are. I take that to mean that we have affirmation that our operations don't need to be changed, at least in terms of being more restricted. We can, of course, people know that we needed to kind of midway through the season change the policy relative to access to the shed. And that's probably where our next discussion will go. Frank, I don't know whether or not we should have that discussion further, or whether or not you want to present where we've been at on that for folks, so that we do have a settled policy, at least starting the season.
Yeah, that's something I think we should keep discussing, because at this point, everything is so in flux.
Yeah.
For me, I err on the side of caution. I think, the old saying, fools rush in. And I think at this point, we'll leave things as they are. I know people are getting vaccinated now. I know a number of people who have, and hopefully I will be soon. But that doesn't, there's still a lot of science that's not certain out there. So I think we'll leave it, this is just me thinking out loud. This is not a policy that as a committee we have set in stone. But I think for now we should leave it as is. And this is something, we might even have to have another meeting just with the committee to try and figure this out in regards to, do we want to open anything up? We've got, we had spray and hand sanitizer and all of that last year. I just feel like I just want to be safe a little bit longer. I really think it's a smart idea. People may agree or disagree, but Marge, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just, I'm also have a plot in the Northampton Community Garden, and we just got a notice. It's like a regular newsletter type thing. It was, I don't know whether, I'm a little confused by it, because the letter said that the governor put out for community gardeners that people have to wear their masks at all times, even when they're all alone in their own plot. Now, that sounds weird to me. Sorry.
I would have to see that in writing, because they didn't even say that before when we were in the worst of it.
So it might be worth to reach out to the health department or something and clarify that, because
Well, I did, Margie, and they said that there was nothing specific. I asked that very question because you made that point previously. I will check back, but I'm not aware that they are aware of whatever that person has related coming from the governor's office.
I don't quite believe it myself, because it sounds like going backwards.
Yeah.
And if you're in your garden and there's nobody else there, it makes no sense to have your mask on.
No.
Yeah. Well, the only thing
I mean, they're putting kids in school at 3 feet apart now. Come on.
Exactly.
That makes no sense.
Yeah. So in terms of where we are in terms of operations that way, the only thing I'd point out is that when we did change the shed policy, it was at a time when it was still unclear about whether or not there was contact contagion as well, that we were dealing with. That seems to be less of a concern these days. So now it would just be a function of how many people in the shed at any given time. But why don't we do this? Why don't we mark it as to be further discussed at our next meeting, and to come up with an operational policy at time.
Yeah, and I really don't, I mean, for the time being, I don't see any problem with still having a disinfectant and spraying everything down after you use it. It's not gonna.
There's no harm in that.
It's not gonna hurt. There's no harm in that, and it's, I mean, there are variants out there, and I mean.
Yeah, I can I just weigh in?
Oh, please, Susan.
That I agree that the idea that we're supposed to wear masks outdoors in our own plot, even when that's kind of a silly idea. There's been research that outdoors is like the least likely place for transmitting blah blah blah. Sorry, my brain's running a little slow. It's been a long week. But I do also agree. I also agree with Frank that we should exercise caution a little bit longer. But to me, I don't know, I'm just weighing in, but to me, caution means, we've got hand sanitizer, we've got spray and all that. But I would like to say that I would like access to the shed and to tools this year, because last year that was challenging.
Yeah, we know it was, we've never done it before, but yeah, I think we'll reach resolution.
I mean, we've been doing this for what, 15 months, another month or and a half or whatever is I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about everybody else, but that's something but I agree. I really would love to have the shed open and the tools available.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Shed use, consciously. If somebody's in there, wait till they come out.
Yeah, you just wait.
Yeah, if you buy the compost and someone is digging, wait till they're finished.
And leave the door open.
And leave the door open.
And leave the door open. A
always
lot
leave
of
the
children were going in there last year. Well,
oh really?
What the children were going in there and hanging out. Their parents were gardening, I think, or their family members were gardening. But I was more concerned about the kids going in with no mask and no way to protect themselves or us from whatever they may have on their hands.
Yeah.
But any of us who go to the grocery store, I don't know about you, I am giving vaccines, so I'm right in the thick of things. And I just disinfect everything.
Sure.
That I even touch, including the cart. I bring my own stuff and I'll disinfect before I go in the grocery store with that cart. I think we have to limit who is allowed to go in there, and I think it should be to the gardeners, not to people who are just, using it for recreation.
So do you mean, when you say limit, do you mean like people should be watching whether or not their kids go in there?
I think so. I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Because it's not safe for the kids, number one, to be in there by themselves.
Yeah.
And it increases the likelihood that for anything.
Right. Yeah. That covers a lot of ground. It increases
Yeah.
likelihood of transmission, but also increases liability and all that.
Yes.
I do think if we're going to open the shed, and I really hope we do, I think we should have the spray in there.
Agreed.
Yeah.
To have an honor system. And also, if you don't trust an honor system, if there's a spray in there that you spray on tools before you use them,
There
That's
actually
also a
was,
safety measure.
yeah, there was last summer.
Right,
There was
yeah.
disinfectant, and every day that I was at the garden, I would disinfect the shed. I would do the tools, I would do the shovels, I would do the rakes, I would do all of them. Just because. I thought I wasn't doing it just for me. I just thought somebody should be disinfecting these every day.
Well, if you're up there with kids, just so you know, when I mow, I try to mow under the apple tree behind the shed.
Oh, I love that.
Both the apple trees, and then on the other end, there's a batch of sumacs, and I have gone in and mowed in there. It's like a little fort in there. So
I think
see
there's
kids
actually
up there, say, hey, go in there and play. There's a fort there.
I think there's actually poison ivy underneath those apple trees.
I mow it really low. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Definitely
Yeah,
got you from there.
I just did it because I need shade.
Frank's impervious to most of the things.
Oh.
No, that I have now. I used to be able to walk barefoot through it, and I can't do that anymore.
Oh man,
But if I have to, I'll just go in there with vinegar.
Okay. I'm going to move us along. There is one other aspect of the operations, but I'm going to suggest we take it up on the new business, which is the compost. So why don't, if that's okay, I just wanted to flag that, Frank, and we'll pick it up at new business.
Sure.
Okay. I'm now going to turn to our outreach report. Internal outreach, that's you, Marty.
That's me. Okay, well, everything's going well. There's a lot of people sending emails. I'm managing to respond every couple of days. I am responding to new people as soon as possible and letting people know, please do not send.
Your volume's gone up.
I don't know what to do about
That's
it.
better.
Yeah, okay, I'll just get closer. So what we need to do is clarify the process for new interested gardeners. We need to possibly have a little blurb on the application and maybe on Facebook and anywhere else where the garden is announced that new gardeners please refrain from sending in a fee until you get a plot. And they need to contact us and go on the waiting list even before they send in an application. This is the first, what have I been here? 3 years, I think. This is my third season.
Right.
I've lost count. But it's the first season that this is such an issue. Last year, there were maybe 1 or 2 new people who sent in fees. And all of a sudden, there's a lot of new people sending in fees. We have a waiting list of more than 12 people, which does not include the people in green on Nicole's report. So the likelihood of the people who already paid, the likelihood of them getting a plot is pretty slim. We've only had, I don't have it in front of me, we've only had, I think, 3 people not coming back. So we have 3 more open plots. I think we have a couple from last year. And there's one person, I'm not sure who that is, who garden committee members were saying they should not be able to come back because they didn't keep their plot up. And I don't know if that was 1 or 2 people, and I'm not sure who they are.
I think we should probably, for the sake of not
talk about that together. Deb, you wanted to?
Yeah, I was just going to say I didn't know what your numbers were with people applying, etc. Because I'm not sure how much I can do. I'm happy to share my plot with somebody.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Feel free, and just whatever. Just let me know and give me their number, whatever. Or
That's
give
great,
me
Deb.
my number.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
And also, there were 2 people sharing, Amy and Fata, and Amy decided not to come back. So I'm trying to get in touch with Fata to see if she's going to come back and maybe she wants to share. And then I would reach out to the new people and see if anybody wants to share, going down the waiting list. But I think the most important thing is about new interested gardeners knowing that they should not send in a fee until they're notified that they have a plot, there's a plot available for them. And I'm not quite sure at this point what to do about that, how to go about that. It seems a little late to revise the application. Maybe
Well,
it's not.
I don't think, on that, you raised the question and I said, yeah, we definitely have to decide it. I really think it's a very small change to the application. I think we ought to put it in, get that to Barbara. I think then we ought to post that new one in our Facebook thing, which gets us to another issue, which we'll get to. But I think we should try to do that right now. It was just an oversight, frankly, and then when we do that, and then you have the opportunity to see how many returning gardeners have paid their fee. Then we see what we got left. I understand there are some people who have said we're not coming back, but there are others probably who haven't told us they're not coming back, but who probably haven't paid their fee yet. So why don't we see what that? So let's see what that universe is, and I think I'm going to suggest that we can maybe then move into directly contacting those folks to see, who's coming, who's not, get them to pay if they haven't already, and then we'll be able to move onto the waiting list, and just see, frankly, who in the waiting list is still interested.
Yeah.
And then we'll see after that whether or not there still are still existing plots left to give.
Okay, now last year we had April 3rd as a deadline for
Yes.
returning gardeners. Is that still?
That's usually the beginning of April. So I think at this point, like I said, I just paid today as an example. I think that we can check in with Barbara maybe the first of the week, next week, Martin, just to double check who besides myself, and then from that list.
Yeah, because they're not even there tomorrow, right?
They're not there tomorrow, so that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying we can double check.
But Barbara sends me.
Yeah, she's really good at that.
Yeah, she sends me every time she gets an application. She sends it to me.
Yeah.
So I just have to download a few. I haven't been able to do it for the last couple of days, and there's a few more.
Yeah.
And I've been indicating it in the drive. On the map, gardeners, and I marked all the committee members as paid because I know we all will pay.
Yeah.
But on the drive, it's marked in bold if a returning gardener has paid.
Okay.
And also there's a list of returning gardeners, and fully paid gardeners are in purple. And gardeners who have said they're coming back but haven't paid are in light blue.
Okay.
So it is evident if you look on the drive.
This is on the drive. So
Yeah.
the next question will be, once we at the point at the beginning of next week, we should initiate contact with those folks. I'm happy to contact folks. You want me to do that, or do you want to?
I can. So you're saying contact returning gardeners who
Yes.
haven't indicated that they want
Yes.
to buy it.
Yes.
I can do that.
Yeah, we definitely need to know at this point.
And we should do that by, today's April 1st, so
Yeah.
by the middle of next week?
Yes.
No problem.
So I would sorry to interrupt. I would like to point out that some of your names on the returning gardeners list, I do have as paid on my list. I did not want to change your list without your approval, but I can color in the ones who have paid in purple if you want.
Sure.
Okay, great.
That's great.
Secondly, I have I think all of the original applications in my possession, and I'm happy to turn them over to you in case there's a discrepancy.
I don't really want them.
What should I do with them then?
Good question. I don't have any place in my house to put anything. I just cleared out my mom and dad's apartment of 68 years in New York City after my dad passed, and my house is like overflowing with stuff, and I have a really small apartment, so I'm not taking anything else.
If we have them in electronic form now, if they've been scanned, there really isn't.
Yeah, if we could just digitize.
Yeah, there's no need to hold on to hard copy.
Okay, I will gladly recycle the paper copies, but I just want to be clear. I have not been comparing the paper copies to what Barbara is emailing around.
Okay, yeah. She
We didn't
normally
talk-
is Barbara's normally very good in making that, electronic copies. But you're right, we should make sure we don't want an error here.
Either that or we're gonna have to get an archivist.
Nicole, have you been receiving applications directly, or is it only Barbara who gets them?
I have not received any applications directly. I have received the applications from Barbara when I have gone in to get the deposit slips. They're all in our mailbox together in
Okay,
the envelope.
okay. So I think we both have the same information that from Barbara. I think what I've noticed is she sends it to you and me. When
She wasn't, so when you say you and me, for a while, she was just sending applications to me.
Okay.
Which is why I'm saying I am not sure if you've received all of the applications, and the best way to find out would be to compare the scanned ones to the originals, which are in my possession.
Right. Well, oh my God.
So I understand it's not a binder. it's not, and B, if the final decision is like the originals can be tossed, once it's verified that we have a scan copy, they can go straight in the recycle.
Well, if I send you a list of all the people who have paid, the returning gardeners.
I already have a list of who is paid, because that's what I'm supposed to be doing as treasurer, is keeping track of who's paid. When I'm
So we have this pretty much the same information.
I don't know that we have the same information. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, so what if I send you a list of what I have, you can compare it to the list of what you have. Perhaps.
Okay, because I know at least 3 of the applications in my possession were new gardeners who did not send in a payment. So my point is, the applications do not mean that they sent a check, but it does mean they've applied.
Right.
My job is to keep track of the money, and I'm trying to just keep track of the money.
Yeah, there's also on the drive, there's also a list of interested gardeners, and when you scroll down, you come to a turquoise section, which is 2021, and that's the waiting list.
Margie, I understand you have a system.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of how to synchronize with you, and I'm thinking,
I am willing to go through my list of payments received and change the color in your returning gardeners to purple to reflect that those returning gardeners have paid, but I am not willing to go through the applications and change your list for you.
I'm not sure what you mean. I don't.
In other words, because Nicole is tracking, as she needs to, payments, people who have made payments, she's noticing that she has information on payments that aren't always reflected in the information in the drive. And Nicole is happy, where you see that, Nicole, I think what I'm hearing you say, you're happy to have that, to go into the drive and we have it reflected when payment is received. Is that correct?
I am happy to, on the returning gardeners list,
yes,
change the color of the people who have paid to pink, if there are any who have not yet been changed to pink, who have already paid. But I am not willing to go through the applications and make sure that everyone in the applications is on your list.
Yes, right. That's the interested gardener.
All the applications that I have received are on the list already. And I think
I don't know that you've received all of the applications, because for a while, Barbara was sending all of the applications to just me.
I'll email Barbara and make sure she has sent.
Or you could just take the physical applications from me and recycle the ones that you already have track of.
Yeah, I could, but frankly, I don't want to.
I feel like by asking Barbara, you're creating an extra unnecessary step, and I understand you don't want to, and I understand the reasons why you don't want to.
It's more than that too. I'm drowning in stuff to do right now. Even this being here right now it's extra for me. It's not like last year.
Okay. So to get us past this, one or two things. I was just saying the hard copy is not it's necessary if we can scan it. If it can be scanned, great. Scanned and sent to you, Margie. You won't have the hard copy, but you can see what's come in. And if that's not possible, then do Nicole. I can take the hard copy myself. I will scan it and get it to Margie. If you want me to do that, I'm happy to.
Thank you. I will gladly take you up on that offer, Stephen.
Okay, good. Yeah, we'll facilitate that. I'll do that ASAP too.
Yay, Stephen. Woohoo.
Okay, no problem. Let's move on. There's actually a second part of the outreach report, which is external outreach. Here, Stella, who had been handling that for us last year as a new member, is not going to be a continuing member this year. So we do need someone to step up. And basically, the large part of it right now is just kind of managing our Facebook page. I don't know if there's anyone in the crowd in the peanut gallery here who has any expertise in that, but we could certainly use that.
I could give that a shot. I'm a computer guy. So.
I knew that had to be someone.
All right. Woohoo.
Yeah. Do you have a list of what needs to be done specifically, or is this just social outreach, or?
Yeah, basically we try to copy our stuff. So for instance, a meeting notice, there's a link to it. So like the Zoom link should go in there. We would just feed it to you. It's not a lot. During the course of the summer, I would send Stella photos of the produce that we donated to the donation garden. So it's not a heavy load.
Yeah, no, that sounds good enough.
Who are you? I'm looking where are you?
No, Eric. Sorry.
Eric. Okay, Eric, you're not coming up in my thing as having a yellow around you. Just flat.
As long as you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
I need to know who you were. Okay, great.
Eric, are you already friends with the Easthampton Community Garden on Facebook?
I am. Yep.
Great. I'm currently covering for Stella, and I will gladly make you an admin for the page.
On my Facebook account, I believe it is spelled with an X on my last name instead of a C, if that helps you find me, but I'm sure you could have figured that out.
You have 3 C's in your name? Do you
mean yes. Sorry. The first letter of my last name is spelled with an X on Facebook.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
I like that, Eric.
Been unmasked. The X-Man has been unmasked. Thank you so much, Eric, for doing it. And thank you, Nicole, for picking up the slack. I was hoping that Stella might still do it. But
no way.
I guess not. So
not right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, house on a baby.
That's wonderful. So that brings us to the end of the outreach and brings us to the donation garden report. And that's you, Mark.
Yeah, well, again, my role last year was just kind of helping Stephen with kind of trying to gather food that people donated from their own gardens. So that's one piece of our donation process, is that it is our hope, and I think we want to communicate that more intentionally, that we would hope that people who have gardens this year would find it within themselves to donate some small portion of what they raise. It doesn't have to be a lot. It just could be, a head of lettuce or, some beans or something. And if everybody did that, once or twice a season, I think we would have some really good things to donate to our friends at the Easthampton Community Center. With regard to the donation gardens, that's another project. I'm very interested in being involved in that this year, and helping plan for that. And we have one plot for that. Is that correct?
Yes, right now. Well, there's actually it's the plot. Yeah, we only actually used a portion of it last year, so.
Yeah.
It's back to back. There actually are 2.
Well, my hope is, with whomever is interested in doing that, is to, kind of plan some, to grow some vegetables that produce, where we get a high production and we can really have some food to donate to people. So I'm very interested in working with whoever else would want to do that.
If it's all right with you, I think we'll make this a major item at our next meeting when we go through operations and then include the donation part of that. As
Sure.
part of overall garden operation. So
That's fine, Stephen.
Okay. For those folks who have hung in to this meeting, to this point, there is a part of the agenda that says gardener feedback. So if there's anyone who hasn't had an opportunity to kind of come in and just have any kind of comment whatsoever relative to the garden and you're a gardener, this is your opportunity.
Hello, could I ask you a question?
Sure.
This is Karen. I'm just asking about the compost because, there are some composts that have been contaminated with herbicides and they've affected people's gardens. So when you get your compost from this place that you get it, is it confirmed that it is free of this?
It's a really good question.
If we got our compost from Bear Path, that would be an affirmative.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually, if you go on their website, they'll do heavy metal. I mean, there's heavy metals in everything, so you shouldn't necessarily be alarmed by that statement. But they do their soil and their compost, I don't know how you say, assessments through the UMass extension. So, they're good. I wasn't involved in buying the last compost we have, so I can't attest to that, but I could to Bear Path. Yeah. And they're pretty transparent about what they do.
Okay.
That's a very good point.
That's a very good question
mindful.
because you have to worry about killer compost, and that's what it's called.
Right.
But some of the herbicides are persistent. They'll go through the digestive system of an animal and all the way into the compost and still be there. So that's a very good question.
Okay.
And actually that also leads us to the what will be our final item, which is on the new business I had mentioned before. Let's talk about the compost a little bit more. That's a very good point about that, Karen. But we did do some follow-up since last meeting about potential compost providers. Frank, it sounds like you've had that. Have you had that conversation with Barbara? And Mark, you had followed up with other providers. Where are we now?
Yeah, I mean, I know we're good with Bear Path if we ever want to order from them. They're a little more expensive, so Mark, you've been out there talking to people as well.
Yeah, no, I made calls this week to both the Bear Path, and I did speak to someone there, and I also I was going to really assess cost figures, and then also I left a message with Four Seasons, which was the group we used last year in Hadley. I can certainly, Four Seasons hasn't answered back yet. The figure I did get from Bear Path was, and again, it depends on the quantity of compost we order and the whole process for how do we determine how much quantity we need. I think it's a little more complicated, but their rate is $56 a yard for 5 yards, which is what we got last year. That would come to about $355. And if we needed 10 yards, that would be $635. That's including the cost per yard plus a delivery charge of $75. So, and they start delivering on April 19th, the gentleman told me. But I'm waiting for a call back from Four Seasons, and I'll probably try to just call them again tomorrow and see what their cost. They were, as Frank mentioned, they were quite a bit cheaper. I think we was, what, $200, Stephen, for 5 yards? Isn't that what we came up with last year?
Yeah, I think.
Which seemed pretty reasonable. As for the quality, if the issue of herbicides that was just raised, we didn't have that question or that information in hand last year, but I can certainly pose it as soon as I get in contact with the folks at Four Seasons. that's the only folks that I've reached out to. There was another group last year that I reached out to up in Bernardston, but they were much more expensive. So I just kind of X'd them off our list. And that's where we stand right now.
Yeah.
But we
But I
could
mean,
probably get it for May 1st, though. That's our goal, is to have it delivered by May 1st.
Well, and the compost we got last year, I mean, it was good compost. You know, I didn't have weed growth coming out of it, and it certainly didn't kill anything. So
yeah,
and that was 4 seasons, correct?
Yeah, it seemed fine. I don't know about the herbicide issue. That would be something I'd have to inquire
But
further.
you would already know if it was an issue because all your stuff would have died, basically.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, still, it's worth certifying that. So, so to your last point, Mark, about what our target date is here.
Yeah.
Because if in fact if we're really looking at a May 1st target date, I think the problem there would be, well, not a problem. It just simply means we have to make decisions now, right? Because we have to either decide about whether or not we're going to go with a provider that is willing to be invoiced, as Bear Path apparently is, and we have the release in there for them.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have a provider that's willing to go along that way, then it means that we would have to collect monies and do it through petty cash.
Like we did last year.
So realistically, if it's that, Mark, then we have to hear from folks. I mean, how do we know what kind of order we're talking about to be delivered by May 1st when we don't have that? You know, we need now at the next meeting, if we make a mandatory membership meeting in part for people to indicate their interest in compost, then that's May 6th. I mean,
yeah, no, I think
before then, but I just don't think that we would know dispositively.
We'll know, Stephen, because what'll happen is I will get the information from Four Seasons ASAP, including whether they would be a third party, because that was the list of questions I was going to ask them in addition to cost. And if they say yes, then I'd say then we have to send out some kind of emailing to the membership to say, you've got to, send in your money now or make your reservation now for how.
But who are they sending in their money to?
Okay. Yeah.
Who are they sending the money into?
Who do you think? What would you recommend?
Well, it can't be the city because we can't put it through the thing if it's a third party payment.
Okay.
It has to go to someone.
Well, I can do that as I did last year. If it was a cash only, I can even put the money up out front and then just collect as we go. But I think we really need to get a clear sense of, number one, who wants it, and number two, when is there going to be? I think we really need to have a pickup date, a specific pickup date, because this kind of come when you want, and then there's not enough for certain people. That's baloney. We don't want to do that again.
Yeah, Mark, I agree. I mean, if you're going to get in on the compost, then you need to come in. You need to get it and put it in your plot within like a week or 2 weeks, because some people, they didn't get the message or for whatever reason, and they just started taking compost like they thought it was there for anybody.
Yeah.
And then it was almost like I can't remember. Joanne, who had paid for compost and wasn't able to get any of it.
I think Mark's point is this, because we can't monitor it. He's suggesting that we have a set drop off and pickup, right? In other words, because if you say, oh, you got to do it within the next couple of weeks, that's exactly what we told people last year, and that's not what happens. What happens is that people take more or less than they should have taken. So I think what I'm hearing Mark saying is that, let's just say we have a date. People know that they got to be there to get their share.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can't guarantee it.
I mean, when we send out the message, that would be the message. We would say we will be sending a specific date. You need to come on that date to be sure that you get yours. The amount that you ordered.
That's what the Northampton Garden does. They have a certain Saturday, 10 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
And get compost.
Yep.
You pay when you come and get it.
And then you get into social distancing issues too.
Well, we'll deal with that. We'll stagger it. People hung out in their cars last time, whatever. Mark, my recommendation would be to make that May 8th, which is the Saturday following our next meeting. That would be my suggestion.
Well, we could. I mean, I'd say the earlier the better, because I don't really start getting my garden going until I have the compost in there.
I know it holds it off a little bit, but I'm just saying it gives us the check that we really get the best information we can get, because we're holding. I mean, yeah, people might or might not email. To be honest, you know, when people do it to the Gmail, it's hard to track it all the time. So
well, that's their responsibility, isn't it, Stephen? I mean, if
no,
they
it
get
is.
mail.
If they want it, it is their responsibility. But
Yeah, I mean, we can't really hold everybody's hand totally here. We have to send out and assume that if they really are interested, they're going to check their email within a day or two, and we'll give them, you know, a few days to answer. But you know, they need to be responsive if they want to participate. That's my approach.
If we're planning on having a compost distribution day on the 8th of May, I feel like we should let folks who are gardening this year know ASAP.
Yes.
And not just have it be like, yes, a reminder a couple days ahead of time, but like definitely let people know now.
Oh no, you have to let them know now, because there are people who work on the weekends.
I don't disagree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's good to have a target. Then we can figure out again whether or not it's going to be billed, whether people are going to be paying. You know, this is what, you know, if we're going to run it through, if we're going with Bear Path and run it through our account, then we have to have enough in the account. So we have to figure, okay, what does $700 buy us? All right. And then you're going to know, you know, if that's coming through the account, that entitles everyone to the same amount, Mark, right? Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless depending on how much they order. I mean, you know, you could.
No. What I'm saying is that if we're doing it through our account, right, our Bear Path account, right?
Yeah.
You've got $700 in there, right?
Right.
And then I think we have to know, what does 700 buy us, right?
Well, that's what that's why I gave you those figures. 635 will get you 10 yards.
Okay.
Basically.
And I'm just saying, if it's done that way, then everyone has an equal opportunity, because we're taking it out of people's plot fees, right? That's where that money comes from.
For the
that doesn't sound correct to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that?
Not understanding what you're saying.
In other words, we've got monies in our Easthampton account, right? We divvy it up. We're going to put so much in Bear Path, right? We've got the 700.
Mm-hmm.
If we go that route, then those money. I mean, it's not like the folks saying, well, I want a yard, or I want whatever, half a yard, etc. Because no one's paying a differential.
Okay, now I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is that if we're ordering a predetermined amount,
yes,
as opposed to collecting money or collecting orders and then ordering the amount.
Yes.
And
it seems like everyone has, and we figure, let's just say it is 10 yards as an example for the delivery.
But that yard will be based upon the pre-orders. That's what I'm getting at. In other words, if we have 20 people who say, yeah, this is what I want. I mean, that's kind of the way we structured it last year, if I recall. Then we know how much money we can anticipate getting in and how much we need to order in terms of the compost. Maybe we only need 5 yards. Maybe we don't need 10 yards. But we need to find out who's interested in it and how much they want, and then total that up to determine our order to the vendor.
No, but you're not catching why that is if we were going for a vendor who wants COD, right? If a vendor wants COD, the folks who are getting it.
It's not about the money, Stephen.
No, because
about how much we're ordering.
No. It is because ultimately, if we're going around and everyone's putting in their order and it's going to be a differentiated amount, then those folks have to facilitate getting a payment. If we're running it through if we're running it through Bear Path as an example, then we got to put monies back into our Easthampton account, and then because I don't know if
I would like to propose a solution to the conundrum.
Yes.
As I mentioned a couple meetings ago, it is possible for us to get a receipt book and issue receipts to people when they come with their cash, so that we have a record of what we've taken in, so we can put the money back into the city account. That is the missing piece that you're talking about.
Yes, exactly.
So Stephen's concern is we're spending the money out of the city account without having a way to reimburse that money. We can collect cash from people for their compost orders. However, to get the cash back into the city fund, we need something that shows that people paid us for something.
Yes.
So we can buy a receipt book,
So
or
we will take that money from individuals and then give it back to the city, so that, because the bill is going to go through the city.
if we're working off of the purchase order system,
Yeah,
and going with Bear Path,
yeah,
then we are working under the assumption that they are invoicing us and we're paying them out of the city account, as
right.
opposed to a cash on delivery system. That does
Exactly.
not mean we won't collect cash from gardeners.
And then we replenish that amount to our account.
We just need to make sure we
private
give
payments.
receipts and keep track of who's paying for what.
That's right.
Right.
And if they don't pay, then of course we may have a problem, but we assume that everything will go just fine.
Well, I think the thing to keep in mind, and I'm going to beat a dead horse here, you know, obviously the same day time doesn't work for all gardeners. Folks work on weekends, folks have childcare issues, folks have whatever, life. Folks have life. Folks want to be gardeners, they want to buy compost, but they're not necessarily able to show up at this day time. So I know that I raised this up a while ago, but if we're planning on moving forward with the purchase order system, which it sounds like we are, then we could have people, approved gardeners, send a check to the city for their compost. Or we can offer them cash on delivery, but it requires them to be at the garden at a certain day time and get the receipt.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to be careful not to be too flexible about when people can pick up, because as Frank pointed out, it can lead us to the same problem we had last year, where people say, "Oh, free compost, I'm going to go get some," you know.
I am 100% behind this promotion of a pre-order.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's feasible to expect folks to be there at the same day time to take their compost right then.
I hear what you're saying. I think that people we try to be flexible, but if you do that at your own risk. That's all I would say.
And I think that should be part of the compost
So,
order language.
so if you have a better proposal on how to handle that and make sure everybody gets their fair amount, then
no,
I'm all ears.
I don't think we can handle that, because humans are humans. And I think what we need to do is make it clear when we're distributing this. I personally am a huge fan of forms. I know you've seen my spreadsheets. You know, I love forms. So if we're going to send information out to approved gardeners, and I think that's the first step, is like finalize our approved gardeners list. Right? So that we're communicating with the people who are actually investors, potential investors in this, to say, you approved gardener have an option to buy compost. Here's what it'll cost per yard. To have a deadline specific to either get your check to the city by X date, so that we know how much we need to order, or, you know, or you could pay cash on delivery, but you still need to submit the form by a certain date. Form with a check, or form with cash on delivery.
I'm less worried about the money than I am about the pickup, because I don't think we've resolved this in a good way.
That doesn't resolve, Nicole, it's a good idea, but it doesn't resolve people taking the compost who have paid.
What are we gonna do? Have somebody guarding the compost?
Well, let's hear your proposal. I mean, otherwise, maybe we could just ask everybody to get their own compost and forget about it if you want to go that way. But
the
that's not much fun.
Park is way bigger than ours. They have a day, maybe 2 days, a certain time. You come with your own bucket, you come with your own shovel. That would resolve the social distancing. You do one at a time. And that's part of the responsibility if you want the compost.
I don't think it's
and
fair.
it works. Everybody who wants compost has the opportunity to go and get it.
I don't think it's fair to assume that people have their own bucket and shovel. I also don't think it's fair to put the potential responsibility of people buying or finding a bucket and shovel that they can use. on the
I
garden.
have lots of buckets. Anyone can borrow my buckets.
We have buckets and wheelbarrows that we used last year, Nicole, and it worked out fine as far as I know.
My point is,
I think the only issue with that example from Northampton, it's fair, but it's not equitable.
thank you.
You know, I mean, it's just, it's not,
Well, yeah,
I mean,
Well, let's buy some buckets and we can let people share them. What the
I mean,
heck?
we can do that.
No big deal.
I just think, or we can just, you know, we can order an extra yard and just call it a wash and put us in just in case. And we put a sign up there that just says, if you didn't pay for this, you shouldn't take it. Not that you can't. If you didn't pay for this, you shouldn't take it.
Okay, and I have another proposal that might solve the person who works on the weekend, which is if there's that many, and we've yet to find out if that's the case, I would personally volunteer, or a couple of us could, to unload that person's compost and put it on their plot. I would do that for them.
Wow, that's a lot of work, dude.
Well, like I say, it depends on how many. I don't think the majority of people work weekends that I'm aware of. If they have other things they're doing, all we're asking to do is you got to adjust your schedule a little bit if you want to participate in this. If you have to.
Well, and Mark, I think in this respect, if we let people know like within a week, because we're early April here.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this is going to be the first, you know, on the 8th of May, we're going to have compost delivered.
Yeah.
And if we give people a range of arrangements, somebody else could be there, you know, just like, you know, they need to know your plot number or whatever. And, you know, if you absolutely can't make it, and make some arrangement like that, I think that's fine. Because
but if somebody says I'm going
a month, that's a good amount of time, even 3 weeks.
But we're asking people to be a little flexible. If their usual grocery shopping time is Saturday morning, I'm just saying, is there any chance you could rearrange that on this one occasion so that the compost could get picked up? That's my whole point.
I agree with your assumption that people don't work on weekends.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that, Nicole.
You actually did a minute ago.
No, I didn't. I said I don't know how many people work on weekends.
Okay, fine. But my point is, and this is true of everything, every group project I've ever participated in, is there is no such thing as an ideal time for everyone.
Of course there isn't.
And I understand the concern around people helping themselves to compost. And I think that, you know, again, like it's not as easily solved as by saying like, we have this small window of time in which you can come pick up your compost. That's not a reasonable expectation.
Oh, it's 8 hours. We're going to say 9 to 5. How's that? I'll stay there for the whole 8 hours. I don't mind.
It's not a reasonable expectation to expect that folks are free on any given day.
Mark, if you stay there for 9 hours, I'll buy you fish tacos from Captain Jack's.
Okay, buddy, that's a deal.
Ooh, that's good stuff.
to lighten this up a little bit because it's not that serious. We're a bunch of volunteers who are giving our time. We're trying to make everybody happy. You can't make everybody
Yeah,
happy.
I know. I hear you, Margie, but and I do. I mean, I know it. I know a couple of people who have plots who I know they work on the weekends at some point. I'm not going to name names. I just know. So, you know, we could figure it out, and I think, you know, if we catch the majority of folks who want compost, that's great.
Yeah, I just don't want to disappoint anybody.
If we have some extra, and I think that's a great idea, have a little extra.
I do. It's just, you know, we order an extra yard and call it a wash. We got the money. It's a community garden, you know. Come on.
And ultimately, compost ends up in the plots.
Yeah, well, I remember last year somebody didn't get theirs. I think it was Amy or something. And I just gave her the cash back because I had fronted the money in the first
There were
place
a few
anyway.
people. There was someone on the call today who said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get.
Yeah, that was Joanne.
Nicole. Okay, so yeah. So can I leave just with this point that it was clear in my mind. We need to check with the city first before we assume anything about how we can do it. In other words, like the notion that we could collect cash or checks and run it through the city accounts and they could track it. Before we assume that that's all copacetic, I think we ought to check in with the city first to make sure that's acceptable to them. Because it is a burden. It's a burden on the city, doing it that way. Now, having said that, we are sitting with a lot of money in an account of a compost of a entity that can deliver compost to us, right? So I'm just saying, we could decide, okay, good, we got $700 in that account, okay? Let's buy $700 worth, okay? That will entitle, without collecting any money, just leave it at that, $700. That will buy us X amount. Mark thinks it's at least 10 yards, right? We could tell everyone that will entitle everyone to a very small amount. And for some, that won't be nearly what they want, right? For those, I mean, we could do it separately. We can still do a COD delivery, right? For those who said, I really need a whole yard for myself, right? A quarter of a yard, divvied up, whatever, it doesn't do it for me. So we can still accommodate those folks who have a greater need and not having to run it through whatever. But so I'm just saying, we're not left to one or the other. It could be both. We could decide, let's do Bear Path this year. Let's reserve, right, $700 worth of compost to be delivered whenever, at some set time, right, which we give people as much notice about, right? They just know that delivery entitles them to a set amount. Understanding it may be very modest, with some people's needs, but we can, for those who need more, we can do a collective one too. Maybe it'll be Bear Path again, who will be willing to do a second one. This one, since we won't, unless we decide to take another, whatever X number out of our account, which then lowers our amount. I don't know if we want to go lower than that, than the 700, but that can be done too. And those folks will get exactly what they want and be there, to kind of do it.
Aren't you a mediator?
So I throw that out, but if we're willing to lay out $700 now, let's get our reservation in. I'm totally good with that.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're proposing that the committee buys within our current allocated budget for compost from Bear Path, whatever that'll get us.
Yes.
Announce it to the gardeners and collect what we can.
The collecting what we can, all I'm saying is that rather than assume that our collection has to be run back through the city, we need to check with the city. We just need to check with the city first. That's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Let's not assume that we can kind of do that. And if it's the case that becomes either not possible or burdensome, that's not a problem, because we can still have a COD option, wholly apart from the $700 that we've already purchased.
Okay, so all you're suggesting then is that it's still going to be a COD payment on the gardener's end.
If they want more than what the 700, their share of that 700.
Are you proposing that we just buy $700 worth of compost for the garden, period?
We could.
Okay, that is the part I was unclear on.
Yeah.
I would second that proposal.
I like it too.
You're saying buy 10 yards, but if I get a more cost-efficient proposal from the other vendor, then we go with that, assuming that they'll bill through the city.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing you say, and what I just agreed to, was that we just buy $700 worth of compost without taking pre-orders and just announce that the compost is available.
Yeah, 700 is the figure out of Bear Path. So I mean, if we get one, if we get a similar bid for 500 from Four Seasons,
sure,
and we're happy with the quality of what they're doing, then we go with that.
Yeah, the point here is the distribution.
Right.
Right. Stephen's proposal nullifies the need to figure out a distribution method.
No, but Mark was going to look into whether he could work out some with Four Seasons if we could get a PO with them through the city. Correct, Mark?
That's exactly right. Because we
Yeah.
could save
We
$200.
get a PO through them.
Right. I only said Bear Path only because they were the only one right now.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I understand that.
Right. But I was further suggesting to make the point that if we're willing, let's just say it's $700, no matter who the provider is, right? We're willing to spend $700 for a base amount of compost.
Right.
Mark, we would have to figure out at that point in time how many. Now, in theory, we have 48 plots, right? Some of them are underwater. So we're not going to have 48 active things. Let's just say we're 30, we're 30 some odd, whatever. Then we would have to actually do the division, right? In all fairness to everyone, since that's group money, it entitles everyone to a very small base amount, whatever that translates to, Mark.
Well, unless, what if people, I mean, like, I think the amount we got last year, what we decided on, and it was just based upon kind of data that we had about how much compost you should have for, let's say, a 400 square foot plot, as most of us have. I think I would want to get a similar amount that I got last year, rather than, but yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
I'm just saying, for those who say that set amount is just not nearly enough.
Right.
I'm just saying, tell us, no, I want another yard, get a price, and we could just, all I'm saying is that we could do a separate, we've spent $700 on copyright, but if you want more, then you pay for that.
Yeah. And the thing is too, it's distribution, because most of these guys, the most they'll deliver is 10 yards at a time. It would take a separate delivery.
Yeah, so we may have 2 deliveries here, right?
Well, you
First
might.
one that we know is coming, that we're paying for, that everyone gets like a bucket or whatever it translates to, right?
Not worth it. This is a bucket's not worth the trouble.
I don't know. I'm saying, Frank, I'm saying a bucket without knowing what it is. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, no. I mean, and you do 2 deliveries, then that's 2 delivery charges. There's, and again, it's like, okay, I mean, people need to pay for the compost. So if they specify how much they want, they're going to have to make a check out basically to the city, correct?
Maybe if the city's willing to go that route. I don't want to assume anything.
Well, I mean, all we got to do, I mean, we have a form for a fee, and they sign off, and gardeners sign off on the form, and they make the check out to the city, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we make up a form for compost that they just make out to the city, and it doesn't have to be complicated, right?
I hear what Stephen is saying about like making sure that it's not creating a burden of labor for the city before we go ahead and announce that. And I agree that that's the courteous and correct thing to do. And I'm happy to follow up with Barbara about that, to ask, is it a difficulty to have gardeners send a second round of checks specifically for compost?
We're going to have to take Barbara out for dinner and beers.
We can bring her produce from the garden.
With a beer.
An honorary garden plot for Barbara.
Right.
I don't really want to interrupt, but I kind of have to because I have to go.
Yeah, I gotta go soon here too, man.
You did not specify who is going to amend the application. I don't even know. You will, Frank?
I did not say that. I just said, oh yeah.
I'll do that, Martin.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that.
And I'm going to send you a draft to make sure, okay, that it's.
Thank you.
Okay. Before I send it out.
I'll follow up with Barbara about the possibility of additional garden-related fees.
Yes.
There was one other thing I was going to ask about, and it's not in my head.
That's because it wasn't on the agenda.
That's it. How do we get things on the agenda before the meeting?
Hey, Karen, as
a standard agenda.
Karen, as an aside, I have some pollinator plants that I just started from seed. They have not germinated. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm gonna do a bunch more. I have some butterfly weed and hyssop. So
okay,
yeah,
sounds good.
Yeah, I have a little grow tent that I'm starting all my stuff in. So I'm gonna try and do some more of that. Just
Okay.
I just
I'll
want to
be-
get to say something other than compost. That's all.
Okay. All right, we got more stuff to do. Okay, I think
Dude.
Eric, I want to thank you. I'll be in contact with you too shortly about what to post. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I did. That's second, third, fourth, fifth.
Time for a beer.
Frank, and of course our
Eric,
second.
my God, you're still
Mark,
here. I
always
love you.
second. Okay,
Eric and Karen, thanks for.
there's a motion made to adjourn. It's been seconded. All in favor of adjournment?
And I would
Anyone
just say,
opposed?
Karen and
Opposed to
Eric,
adjournment?
the meetings never go this long.
Never. This is the worst. And
Well,
the
the
next one might
compost debate has been ongoing for the past 3 meetings.
we're almost like a third of our thing left here.
Oh, one more little tiny thing. Stephen, can you or Frank email me the person who we are not taking back?
Yeah, I already did, but I'll send it to you again.
Yeah, Frank, that's Frank's department, not mine.
Okay, all right.
I've already added.
Frank's in charge of banishment.
I even did some online sleuthing. I'll talk about it later. All right.
Okay, thank you. Good night,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Y'all have a good night. Be safe. Keep washing your hands.